You're watching Cable 9, your community channel.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bullpen here on Cable 9, your community channel. And a lot of things have happened in the last 7 days, and boy, a lot of things have happened in the last 7 days in and around the sporting world, especially here in St. John's and across the province. As we tell you each week, the Bullpen, seeing we're into the baseball season, that area in the ballpark down the first and third base lines. We leave pitchers warm up before they come into the game, and of course in the outfield like at Sky Dome, and of course that's Fenway Park. And our first man out of the bullpen is the Philly Fanatic, whose team is still hanging on in the National Hockey League playoffs, despite the fact that many people didn't think they would hang on at this time.
Yeah, right.
And, well, I mean, some people thought that they wouldn't hang on. Our first man out of the bullpen is Bob Rideout, and some people say that watch out for the New York Rangers. I said that, and I'll say it again. Look out for the old guys.
Yeah, that's the people in the Office of Social Security.
Is that right? Okay, well, that's the rest of us. Anyway, our next man out of the bullpen, who may also be on Social Security, was nearly as old as Bob Rideout is.
As old as you, Carl.
That's right. But is also, like myself, he's a fan of a team that didn't make it to the playoffs, Randal Wheeler with Chicago, and Randall from the Sports Phone. We'll have more to say on various things after that. And the super trivia man from the column for the Evening Telegram, and with an Expos hat, whose team doesn't look too bad this year, but he's also a good Dodger fan, and the Dodger's going to be sold, Steve O'Brien. And Steve, every week we start the bullpen off with trivia questions, and seeing that we're into the National Hockey League playoffs, and we're coming on to the 25th, which is Memorial Weekend in the United States and Victoria Day in Canada, we're coming up to the Indy 500. Appropriate hockey in the Indy 500 question, Steve.
Yep, and we have actually Stanley Cup question, Carol, so we'll mention that right off the top for now, since hopefully at least my team, we don't know, there's no chance of winning the Stanley Cup this year. But anyway, this question has to do with teams who have won the Stanley Cup just once. So there are three in total, three NHL teams that have won the Stanley Cup just once, and we want the viewers to see if you can take a shot and name them.
Two teams eliminated. Some fellas named Montreal and Boston, so we eliminate
And
that.
we want to thank Steve Dicker from Paradise for sending this question in to us. He's a regular viewer, sends in a lot of good questions, and this is just one of them. And our second question has to do with the Indy 500. Actually, it's an unusual incident that happened with the Indy 500. And we go back to the early 1980s. And we want to know, name the two drivers involved in the 1980s Indy 500 race that took 4 months to decide the winner. Now, not 4 weeks or not 4 days. It took 4 months to determine the winner. And we'll have our answer now towards the end of the show. Think about that. If there's any help to anybody, it was 1981 is the year it took place.
And I think the thing, as Randy pointed out when we were discussing this before the show, is that they didn't drive around for 4 months. They had to make a decision because of a wrangling after 4 months.
The bad thing about that, too, is at the end of the Indy 500, they always drink milk. It's kind of a tradition. I bet that milk probably went stale after 4 months.
Yeah, it probably went sour, too.
Sour. Probably went over turn of cream. Right, one of the two. Yeah. Anyhow, this is it, boys. I tell you now, we're first of all, before we get in to the Civic Center, because, I mean, there's...
Watch your blood pressure.
Oh, man. I mean, if they bring it up, it'll be up in the sky somewhere. Anyway, first of all, good season for the St. John's Maple Leafs. Unfortunately, lost to Hamilton. What a game. Boy, I tell you, the seventh and deciding game for the first two periods. Superb hockey. The Leafs should have had a 1 in the first 5 minutes. Steve Passmore stoned them. It was superb hockey. If you were at the stadium, it was the best crowd. There were 3,700 fans plus down at the stadium for that final game, which goes to show, despite the fact, and we'll get into that in a minute, what some people say, 3,700 fans down there, and they cheered the Leafs on from start to finish. Standing ovation at the start, standing ovation when it was over to the entire team, and Mark Hunter and his crew. Great cheer, and you know, you're close, so close, yet so far away, Bob. And you'd love to see this team stay around, and the hockey last game was just superb.
Well, unfortunately I was working. I only caught the last 10 minutes of the third period, final 10 minutes, and what I saw, it looked to me like the Leafs just didn't have the spark they needed. And if you're going to lose the 7th game at home and get shut out, I guess simply the other team outplayed you, and they wanted it more, I guess.
Overall, I think you have to be pleased with the Leafs season. I think it's interesting to note that in the last game, Joel Holbig and Kelly and Muir were all sent down from Edmonton after the Oilers had been eliminated, and all of those people helped Hamilton in that game. So, I mean, Hamilton sort of were a different team in Game 7 than they were for the rest of the series. So that was a little bit of an advantage for them, but not making any excuses for the Leafs.
No, but as Brendan McCarthy pointed out, these guys played with that team the entire season with Hamilton. They just had to go up for a few games and then were sent back down again, which Colazar was up with the Leafs and Kuzma was up and sent back as well.
And plus the fact, I mean, Brian Wiseman, you know, with missing him for the amount of time that they missed him, it certainly hurt their scoring ability. So, you know, between the jigs and the reels, all in all, I thought they had a good season.
Well, I just want to touch on the events of Game 6. Now that was the game in Hamilton that sort of led to having the 7th deciding game. Now in that game, people might recall now that the Leafs were down 3-0 early, and they battled back to tie it. And you figure that momentum was going to be on their side because they got a bit of a fluky goal to tie the game. And you figure after battling back for 3 goals to win the overtime, you just hope that they clinch it in the overtime. So.
At the game, unfortunately, we can't re-show the interview we had with Danny Williams out at the stadium because of a technical glitch in the tape and stuff that we've got here. But first of all, the Civic Centre, 2 weeks before they announced that the Civic Centre is not going ahead, we were assured by council that the last bids were in and everything they could, the ground would be broken by the 1st, and then the bomb was dropped the night before the 7th game. Don't ask me why you drop a bomb before the 7th game a team is going to play at home. I have no idea. That must have been great for morale for fellas in the dressing room. I tell you, if I was playing with the team, and I haven't talked to anybody related to the Leafs because I wasn't much sense, but I mean, it must have been great if I was playing for the Leafs and they had to go into a 7th game and heard that you're possibly going to be leaving town. I mean, I wouldn't be in very good spirits, but they played well. The other thing is, I listened to CBC Radio the other morning, and Nancy Walsh said that the Leafs were abandoning St. John's. Bull feathers. They're not abandoning St. John's. St. John's, their city council, mothers and fathers, the deputy mayor, the whole kit and caboodle are throwing this team out of the city. There's no ands, buts, ifs, or roars. You can sit there and say what you want. The Leafs are leaving. The Leafs have been kicked out. They're not leaving. This team has been tremendous in this city, and for some moron to say they give nothing financially to this city, and I use the word moron, if you take a look at hotels, taxis, what's spent in bars, restaurants, Hamilton Bulldogs were in St. John's for a week. And you're going to tell me, and I talked to the Hamilton coaching staff, they didn't spend a cent in this town? Well, boy, I tell you, if you say they didn't, you're a bigger idiot than what you think you are. Anyhow, to get down to it, the Leafs are going to go, apparently going to honor the last 2 years. Maybe there's some savior out there, or somebody can wake somebody up and build a civic center. It's not just for the Leafs. This is for rock concerts. This is for trade shows. It's probably bringing some Irish groups or something. Give people to St. John's, Mount Pearl, and surrounding areas something to watch so you don't have to fly to Halifax and watch your bucks leaving this province and going up there. Anyway, I have enough to say. My blood pressure is going to boil. Randy, you can go on. Yeah. I mean, I think it's foolishness.
Okay. Interesting that you're mentioning, too, about Andy Wells saying about no financial benefit to the city. Both the head of the Hotel Association and the St. John's Board of Trade have come out and criticized the decision by council. Are you saying that Andy knows something that these people who are business leaders don't? When I heard the decision yesterday, it reminded me of the old song from the 60s, Down in the Boondocks, because that's where St. John's is going to be left. This is sending a terrible message to the rest of Canada, to the other AHL franchise cities across the United States. I can't believe that nobody in this city can build a civic center. That's insane. We're not talking about, Skydome. We're talking about a 6,000-seat civic center. It's a reflection on where St. John's is going as a city. We're not getting bigger and better. We're getting smaller and poorer. We're going back. We're regressing instead of progressing. And we do need this civic center. And, I'm one of these stubbornly optimistic people that until I see the trucks pull up to the stadium in 1999 and carry the Leafs gear out, I'll believe that there's still somebody out there, somehow, some way, who can get something together, maybe some kind of a joint venture, as one of the people here in the studio was saying this morning. Everybody benefits from having the Leafs here. Fans come in from St. John's, Mount Pearl, CBS, Torbay, all the area.
Corner Brook, Gander, Grand Falls.
Yeah, maybe, if St. John's can't go it alone, maybe they could look at some kind of a joint venture with Mount Pearl or somebody else to build a stadium. And it does not have to be in the heart of the city. I was never in favor of that area anyway. I think it should be in a more accessible area than than the downtown core, which is pretty crowded on most nights, and the parking is a whole other thing. But the main thing is, surely to God, somebody in this province can build one of these civic centres. This is not an impossible task.
I'll give you a scenario I came up with last night, and one person said to me, it won't work. Okay, well, it won't work, but here's the scenario. City says we'll give you 1.3 million. Now, every one of these developers going in knew you were getting 1.3 million. You weren't getting a cent more. Yeah. Okay. You got to come up with, they say in one of the proposals that they need 1.9. Well, boys, listen, they're drilling offshore. There's oil companies all over this place. $600,000 is piddly squat to Mobil Oil, to Shell Canada, to Petro Canada. $600,000 a year to put their name on it. You hear me? Put the name. Call it the Mobil Centre, Mobil Civic Centre, or the Petro Canada Civic Centre.
Yeah.
For $600,000, I'm sure they'll find the bucks to give it to you. Has anybody approached these people? You know?
Oh, good idea, Carol. And, you know, we've seen it done in Ottawa. I mean, that place was being built as the Palladium, which was what its working title was. And then the Corel people came in and wanted to get their name on the place. And we've seen all kinds of arenas going up now where that's what they do. They pay the big bucks, the long-term contracts. And especially when the thing starts off, like right from day one, with the corporate name attached to it, it's great as opposed to like changing your name. You know, like Candlestick Park, for example. Still people call it the old name. They don't call it with the, you know, 3-com park for the most part. So that's, you know, it seems like a workable way to do it. And of course now, you know, with Hibernia ready to come on stream and stuff, so it seems like a great idea. It's too bad that you're not in city council.
Well, the only thing I have to say is I'm pretty much fed up to about here with all these morons and idiots down in council, and the only thing I can say is, you know, I hope everybody remembers this when it's voting time again, because these people are killing the city.
Yeah, great way to celebrate Cabot 500 he got, you know, with his short-sighted mover. Yeah.
But there's also an old saying, hey, when it comes to politics, I think the Newfoundlanders are short memories.
I will have to say one thing, though, and that's Sean Skinner deserves a lot of credit for everything that he's done to try to get this project to fly. He's given of his time and his effort, and you know, the guy must be really, really disappointed, and I feel sorry for him personally, but I feel a lot sorrier for the city in general.
I picture Sean standing down by the stage and he's beating his head off the brick wall.
Yeah,
you know
that's what it's like.
He turns left and he gets a smack in the face. He turns right, he gets a smack in the face, and there's nobody wants to do it. I mean, like you said, we're going backwards. We'll never go forwards in this city. I mean, provincial government, they got $5 million for it. There was money coming in. The private sector, as Danny explained last night. You know, what have you got to do? Have you got to go down and ask everybody in St. John's to go down and dig part of it with a shovel, so that'll you know, do away with the cost?
Yeah, I think some of the problem is a lot of people don't like change. They don't like to move into the future, right? Like they live in the past and they dwell in the past. Have inside your own house, have it the past. I mean, you can have your little 40s and your flappers and all that kind of stuff in your house, but you have to live in the times, right? You have to move into the new times, into the future. And that's what people have a problem with. And you know, that's who's making the decision on this.
We're stuck in the 50s again.
Yeah, but hold on, guys. I mean, you know, listen, I agree, you know, like you say, the sentiment here, but listen, just on a purely practical purposes, recently, 2 weeks ago, hey, the city council was on talking about their business plan and trying to entice businesses and stuff like that, and what we should do to make ourselves more friendly to business. And yet, you know, at the same time, they say one thing, and then by doing this short-sighted gesture, or it's sort of like, you know, you're talking out both sides of your mouth, or you can't have it both ways. This would have been a great facility to attract business, to get to conventions, and as Randy said, you know, the hospitality people were against it. You don't want to have some of these larger events here, which presently just stop in Halifax. So it would have been a win-win situation all around, both for the sports fan and for the corporate community. But it looks like now, it's unless, you know, something happens, you know, the 11th hour type thing, it's not going to happen.
I mean, people in Newfoundland and the city of St. John say, oh God, Canada ends in Halifax. Well, now you can see why Canada ends at Halifax, you know. Maybe there's somebody else that got a solution or something. I mean, we're stuck in the 50s, the stadium. Nobody has mentioned that great word of jobs. How many people that are involved in the LEAF organization, I'm not talking to the staff of Glen Stanford's staff now, the kids that work at the stadium selling ice cream and stuff, the puffin that goes around, the guys that work security and stuff, how many jobs are going to be lost because this team is gone or the stadium is gone?
Not only that, but if you had the bigger stadium, you'd probably double all those jobs.
There you go.
Right? And then you got all the construction jobs that are going to be a spin-off.
Now, you can say they're only seasonal jobs, but, you know, there's a lot of seasonal work in Newfoundland.
Well, not only seasonal jobs, because there's things that go on during the summer,
That's
too.
right, yeah.
And for anybody who thinks that, oh, well, if the Leafs leave, somebody else will come in.
Bull.
Yeah, there's nobody going to come to a 1950-ish stadium that's not capable of holding a proper AHL franchise. I mean, there's plenty of American cities lining up to get the Leafs. And there are some people who say, oh, well, maybe we can get a junior franchise. I doubt it because of the travel costs and, again, because of the stadium. You know, you can say, oh, well, the AHL left Halifax, and look, Halifax got a junior franchise. The AHL left Halifax, not because the Halifax didn't have a building. They had a 10,000-seat stadium. There was just fan apathy, and that's why the AHL left Halifax, and the stadium is just fine up there. But we need, this stadium that we have in St. John's was fine in the 1950s, but we're going into the year 2000, and it's just not capable of holding a proper professional franchise.
We shouldn't waste any more time on these rounds. Let's move on.
St. John's Athlete of the Month, the female athlete, we mentioned this one, Jennifer Taylor. She was named Athlete of the Month from Prince of Wales. She played 3 games in high school basketball and scored 95 points. So you can understand when she's going to the States, I understand that, and to play basketball, so I mean, this speaks well for her.
A lot of Newfoundland basketball players are getting great coaching and great competition here and in the Atlantic provinces, and they're moving away and showing what they're really made of. And it really looks good for local coaching and what has happened in basketball and in other sports in the Atlantic provinces. It really looks good.
St. John's Ball Hockey League started up at the Twin Rinks. They got a few games under their belt, and looks like it's going to be a great season. Lots of teams, the A, B, and C divisions. There should be a good provincial one, and the national championships, if I'm not mistaken, are coming here too. So, great year for ball hockey. Okay, on to the National Hockey League. And Bob, your Philadelphia Flyers in against the New York Rangers. Detroit and Colorado. I thought it would be Colorado and New Jersey, but when I saw the Rangers playing, I said, don't count the Rangers out, Bobby.
I don't know. Well, probably what's going to happen, and you used to see it in some games against Russia and Canada, they'd come to center ice and exchange little gifts. Well, probably what's going to happen to start this series, the Flyers are going to come to the red line, the Rangers will come to the red line, and the Flyers will hand over the Geritol tablets or something. Because that's what's going to happen in this series. The one thing to watch for is Mike Richter. If he plays like he did against New Jersey, the Rangers might have a chance. But I think what's going to happen in this series, home ice advantage is going to dictate the way it goes.
Philadelphia are a bigger, stronger team, and one would assume just by looking at that they should win. But I agree with Bob that Mike Richter can steal a series by himself. If Philadelphia's goaltending starts to see any signs of shakiness like they did at the end of the regular season between Snow and Hextall, and if Richter plays as well as he did in the first 2 series, I could see the Rangers taking it.
That's one more point too to make before I jump in here, Steve. The fact that the Flyers now again have a goaltending controversy, which is the worst thing you can do in the playoffs. I think they should have stuck with Garth Snow in the final game there for the Flyers in Game 5. And I think that if they're smart, they'll start Garth Snow against the Rangers again.
Yeah, well, I'm looking to see that too. I think they would be better off. Hextall's got his bit of work now. He should go back and sit on the bench and wait until he's called on. But listen, I disagree with your pointer now about home ice advantage. Listen, the Rangers are one of the richest teams in hockey. The past 2 series, they had to travel all the way to New Jersey, and now they got to travel all the way to Philadelphia, right? Yeah. So for all intents and purposes, there's no home team here. I mean, or both teams you could say are home teams, because even though you're playing in the other team's so-called building, I mean, it's one of the few occasions in hockey where you can basically spend the night in your own, room with your wife and kiddies, and then go to the rink. So it's not really a road game. And the other thing is that I'm going to go out on a limb here now. I think that the old guard is going to have something left here, and they're going to take the series to a long series, but I think the Flyers are going to lose in 7.
Okay, well, so we'll have somebody replace Steve on the bullpen next week. But as for the point about the home ice advantage, and you think that there's really no home ice advantage, the Flyers and the Rangers hate each other. That goes back to Fred Shero days. There's definitely a home ice factor there.
But the point is that a lot of Rangers fans can easily make the trip to the court spectrum and whatnot there, but it's just a matter of the season ticket holders for the Flyers probably get most of the seats taken up, right?
Yeah, as Carl says, we shall see.
We shall see. Anyhow, we're winding down the show after we went on the tirade on the Civic Center. Anyway, our blood pressure's down, we're all calm, taking it easy. We're going back to trivia, and Steve, as we get down in the show at this point, the trivia questions related to the NHL. Believe it or not, folks, never saw the question, got the right answer. Yeah. Anyway, you go ahead.
Yeah, you were 3 for 3, no problem either, Carl.
No problem with that one.
All right, so just to recap here, guys, it's, since we're talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs, this is our question, and it involves the 3 teams that have won the Stanley Cup just once. And I guess we could have added a hint here that all 3 of these teams are presently playing in a different location than when they started off with, if that's a hint. But again, we want to thank Steve Dicker from Paradise for sending in this week's question. And the answer is, first of all, it was the Calgary Flames in 1989, and then the New Jersey Devils in 95, and Colorado Avalanche last year. And just 3 teams that you've won just once and once only. And our second question got to go now with an unusual incident in the Indy 500 race where it took 4 months to determine a winner. And it goes back to the 1981 Indy 500 where Bobby Unser and Mario Andretti were 1 and 2 in the finish line here. What happened is that Unser finished first, Andretti finished second. It was ruled that Unser passed somebody in the pit lane and was going to lose a lap, and that gave the race to Andretti. It was appealed by the team owners, and it was decided after 4 months that we're just going to fine Unser $40,000, and we'll let him keep the victory, though. I think
same kind of thing happened last year with one of the Canadian drivers, and he lost the championship over that.
Paul Tracy.
It all goes to show, boy, is that the old name Unser here is a bit of clout here. Anyway.
Anyhow, one thing to be very happy about is that the Boston Bruins have the first overall pick in the draft. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win a Stanley Cup, but you got that, and you got the 8th pick. Saw Danny Cleary down at the stadium at the last Leaf game, and maybe he'll wind up in a Bruin uniform. You have a Newfoundlander there, but Randy, looks like Thornton may go with the Bruins.
Oh, I think he's a lock to go number 1. He's a 6'4" center, and Boston needs all the offensive help they can get. So yeah, I'd say he's a lock to go number 1.
Oh, the problem I get is Harry Sinden was down with Dave Hodge the other night talking about taking a goalie with that pick. He's out to lunch. I still think Jim Carrey
playing head games with the rest of the
probably, but I still think Jim Carey is the goalie of the future in Boston for a long time. I know, Carl, you disagree with me, but I think he's a quality goaltender. And
I'm not saying he's not a quality goaltender. I saw him play in the American Hockey League, but I mean, that season that he had, you got to shake your head and say, listen, is your head in the game, or where are you going this one?
Well, look, Wayne Gretzky had a couple of bad years, and as much as I really like Wayne Gretzky.
And Mario Lemieux.
Well, I love Mario Lemieux, but Wayne Gretzky, but he came back and did okay for the Rangers. But I think that if the Bruins go and take Robert Longo, I think his name is, in the Quebec League, forget it, Harry, you're gone.
No, well, it's surprising here again, with the, not so much, apparently it's a good draft year, and there's a lot of, quality players available, including our Danny Cleary is expected to go high. But is again, the Leafs now are kicking themselves against Toronto Maple Leafs there, because they basically traded away their first round draft choice. And
2 big drafts in a row they've done there.
Yeah.
Jack Parker out as coach of Boston. Looks like maybe Robbie Fatorik, or hopefully Wayne Cashin, but I doubt it. And Mike Keenan possibly going to Phoenix. There's all kinds of rumors out there.
Go ahead. We were talking about this earlier. I don't think Mike Keenan is going to go anywhere. I think most teams would be a bit leery, A, about his contract demands, and B, about the kind of effect, the lingering after effect that he has on a team when he gets there.
Yeah, Mike Keenan, if he ends up anywhere, he's going to end up in the press box somewhere doing commentary or something like that. But one position that was kind of a surprise that happened this past week was David Boyle getting axed by Washington. I found that to be a real surprise. If it happened right when Washington didn't make the playoffs, it wouldn't have surprised me, but to do it now, when you've got the draft just around the corner, that's somewhat surprising.
I wonder could we use Mike Keenan next year on Cable 9 for the games here, with the Heron St. John's, the games, to be the analyst for those. Would that be nice?
That'd be really nice, wouldn't it?
Well, listen, besides we were just talking about David Poole, the other thing, too, we were trying to mention regarding the NHL is we talked about the Eastern Series. Now, how about this series between Detroit, the rematch here between Detroit and Colorado?
Yeah.
Now, there's probably going to be, that could be a long series, too. A lot of grudge here now. Chris Draper, Claude Lemieux incident is still fresh in the minds of a lot of hockey fans. But the thing is, though, guys, here's the Newfoundland connection. Bill Arnon broke their long drought of winning the Vetch Memorial Trophy there, in junior hockey in 1955, the last time they won it. So if Bill Arnon won it, and then anyway to 42 years, now it must be time for the Red Wings to win the Cup this year, right?
One thing I mentioned about that series,
Where do you come up with this foolishness?
It's what they call reaching for one.
He's definitely out in space. But I mentioned to Steve before we started taping the show that I think in that Detroit-Colorado series, we could see Chris Osgood for the first time. I think somewhere along the way, Colorado is going to chase Mike Vernon.
But this is the year that Scotty Bowman doesn't do it, buddy. He's out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he wants to do it this year for sure. Yeah, third time lucky, hey, or else three strikes and you're out.
You're biting your tongue.
No, I know the next topic you're getting to. I wanted to get on that. Okay, we wanted to get this in before the show was over. The Toronto Blue Jays signing Ruben Sierra, and for the casual baseball fan, it doesn't mean a darn thing. But for those of us who are really into it, we know how much trouble the Blue Jays have had scoring runs this year. Ruben Sierra is a proven run producer, even if he is a bit of a head case. He has had a season with 30 home runs. He's had 4 seasons where he's driven in over 100 runs. The guy has proven that he's a run producer in the major leagues, and I don't think it's going to be very long before you see him in a Blue Jays uniform. He's down on their Syracuse farm team right now as we speak. but I think he'll be up fairly soon, and I think if anybody can get good mileage out of him, it'd be Cedar Ganson.
Where are we going to play him?
I think it's a waste of time. It's not going to be a waste of money because I believe the Yankees
$111,000.
Yeah, the Yankees are somebody who's paying the most of his contract.
Yeah.
But I think what this is really is a shake-up for the players who are on the team now, saying, like, if you guys don't perform, we're going to get some people in there who we think can. But I don't think he's ever going to show up in a Blue Jays uniform.
Well, it's surprising because, you know, his guy's only 31 years old or something.
Yeah.
He's after falling very far, very fast.
Yeah.
And, you know...
As soon as he left Texas.
Yeah, that's you know, again, but maybe it might do it. Listen, one minor point is that he's one of these guys who loves the number 21, but he's not going to get it with the Toronto because Clemens will have to fight to get it, right? Yeah.
Another thing we want to mention, and I got to get this one in, is because all people in the world are really excited by this, and we're on the edge of our seat, is that NBC is carrying Notre Dame football games right to the year 2001. So take it easy. We get to see Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
Don't they have Lou Holtz still there? Too?
No, he's not there anymore.
He's anyway, on NBC though, I think.
He's going out with Regis and Kathy Lee, taking over the co-host.
Oh, great.
No,
you're smart. Now you're talking smart.
You're smart. Yeah, but Frank Kipper's not involved in it. Well, we can go on with this one. Gary Roberts, possible, the talking comeback. He had the bad neck. Possibility he could be paralyzed, but he says he's feeling great and everything. Back with Calgary, I don't understand. I know where he may be coming from to get back at it, but would it be worth risking your life on it?
Well, I spent 4 months in Calgary last year, and he is like the savior to the Flames. And if he can come back, man, everybody up there would love to see it, and I think everybody around the league would love to see it. He's a great player, but I think he might be stretching it here.
We got to cut it. We're out of time. Anyway, we're out of time. We tell people each week. And by the way, if you like the Civic Centre or you don't like the Civic Centre, or do you hate to see the Leafs leaving town, drop us a note or give us a phone call, please, on that one. If you want your up-to-date results, don't forget to call the sports phone. Back in your home with the Bullpen in 7 days. Have a pleasant week.